Good morning, everybody. John Spielkel here for GAI Insights with the Gen AI news briefing, rating the top news, essential, important, or optional. Today, we have in the house pretty much the full team. We're missing a couple folks, but it's great. We got tons of talent here. We've got Julio, and Tim we see occasionally. Julio we haven't seen in a dog's age, and Adam, of course, and then stalwarts Luda and Paul and Ankaj, of course. Today we've got lots of stuff, everything from the Apple announcement down through some interesting linear approximations for computational parts of the model building, down to some new capabilities to have deep fakes in banking. So got a lot to cover today. And Ankash, if we go ahead and get started.
Sure, John. So the first one that we have today is the big one from Apple. So Apple has launched a host of new features, including Apple Intelligence, its private cloud, a lot of stuff coming to Siri, a collaboration with ChatGPT, and also a calculator finally on iPad.
Yes. So lots going on here. Adam, why don't you start us off? Nothing burger or essential?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a hard time not making this essential news. I was doing a little research. More than 60% of the mobile handsets in enterprise in the United States are iOS. So this is going to have wide and far-reaching impacts, certainly for every company out there, and what people are bringing into the office, if nothing else. Um, Ankash, you may have been joking, but probably the biggest news of the day is the calculator for iPad for me. I don't know why that's something that we haven't had before, but the number of times I've need that thing, and I'm just shocked that it's still not there. So look, probably what's most exciting for me is they've confirmed they're using OpenELM, which is actually the open source 3 billion parameter model that's going to be running locally on these devices. So I know there's talk about the relationship with OpenAI and giving away the keys to the kingdom, but they are really going with private LLM that you're going to be running locally on your edge device, and I think that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
The integration with OpenAI is a big deal as well to supplement that. The enhancements with Siri's capability to vertically integrate through all of your applications and know everything that's going on in your emails and in your chats, and some of the use cases and demos are really powerful. A little scary at the same time because it is a ton of information you're giving it access to, and it's fair and quite appropriate to be concerned about the privacy. I feel they did a pretty good job of addressing it, and I know we're going to be talking about that more, but I'll probably just press pause there and say that this is essential news.
Now, do I have to take back all the nasty things we said about Apple PR and so forth? No, Julio, I know you're out in the field building some of these. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that if you're expecting to be wowed by cutting edge features or state of the art models, you are disappointed. But I think this is essential because it really shows you how you can start integrating AI into all your products across the platform in a very conservative and safe way, but in a way that will grow and be really important over time. And the calculator gets a lot of attention because there wasn't one. I've heard stories that there wasn't one because the iPhone one didn't look good on the iPad, and then it just fell through the cracks. It was never important enough to actually create when they had other things to do. But the calculator now is really important because it's not just a calculator. You can do the writing, and it recognizes your handwriting and does math equations and stuff. So it gets a lot of ribbing, but I think it's a really powerful calculator now. So it's really amazing, and an example of how you can integrate AI into every app maybe without blasting AI all over the place. So I think it's super interesting. And they do focus on security and privacy and security. And if anybody can do it, Apple can do it. And they've got this 3-layered approach where as much as possible gets done on the phone with Siri and the local models. They've got a whole private secure cloud, which runs maybe a medium LLM or an MLM on Apple hardware in their data center. And then only then, if there's something that you can't, that they can't handle, that they hand it off to OpenAI with lots of, warnings and not warnings, but like lots of disclaimers and an alert that tells you that it's going to OpenAI.
So it's like if you use DuckDuckGo and then it warns you that your cookies are going to Google or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're focusing on making Siri smarter. And then there's a big focus on updating your apps in a way that Siri can use them to almost as tools. So Siri, over time, Siri will become, let's say, a smart agent that can use your apps as tools. So if you have a weather app, or as a simple example, you can say, I can tell you the weather for any city in the US or something like that. And then Siri knows that somebody asks about weather, that it can call your app for information on that. So I think that that's an interesting approach that they're taking.
Yeah, fascinating. The tiered from the edge in kind of security and privacy. What do folks think? Other folks?
Yeah, I'm really delighted to see that they are actually making Siri be an agent, like Julio was saying, and I hope it actually works, because Siri was certainly falling behind, and it was visible. So hopefully that would work.
I think it's essential too. Are you hearing me?
Just barely, Tim. You sound like you're at the bottom of a tube. Go ahead, Tim.
Are you hearing me now?
Better, yes.
Okay. So I think this is essential for a couple of reasons. And I agree with everything that's been said, but there are a couple of important things here. One is, this is the first really scaled edge computing device that's going to run an LLM. For me,
Right.
You've been talking about that forever. This is an important moment because Apple owns so many of these edge devices. This is a real test of scale and the ability of these devices to run on the edge. And the integration of the various models is also something new that I think we'll see more of. And I think that is also really important. And I would not understate the importance of this deal with OpenAI from a market perspective. So, the fact that Apple is going to basically default to OpenAI, we'll see how many searches, Julio, to your point, actually end up with ChatGPT. But the fact that they did it is an amazing boost for OpenAI, in my opinion. So for those AI leaders looking at market dynamics and edge computing, this is a really important story.
Fascinating.
We'll see how it works in practice, but this is an important story for both those reasons.
Anything else?
In fact,
I think we're...
Yeah, just to build on that a little bit, I think it'll also train the mass market to ask for things and maybe train them to use GPT systems a little bit more intensively than they have in the past. If you have a blank Chat GPT window, you don't know what to ask for or even how to ask for, but now they'll be trained to like ask Siri questions about like when somebody lands or something about your email, and then they'll start learning to ask.
Right. Plus the resources they devote to marketing and education alone, just the announcement and all the demos and everything eclipses even what OpenAI can really do.
Yeah.
A few other things I want to note. One, I think this is an essential tool for the AI leader and the AI enthusiast to understand where edge devices are going. I mean, all their examples are B2C. This is clearly a B2C play, but it impacts executive understanding of this. It also is going to impact large companies who sell to consumers, particularly around branding. And I think as we watch potentially 10, or if we think Gartner's correct, 20+% of web searches leave Google and go to large language models, this could be quite a accelerant on the move away from the monopoly that Google has on internet ads. The third thing,
it'll have a huge impact on enterprise because there's so many iOS devices in senior executive hands. So the training of the senior executive core is going to be, and once they figure out, oh, I can like answer 10 emails in 30 seconds walking down the street by just saying a couple of things to Siri, they're going to love it.
Yeah.
It may not be great for our culture, but they're going to love it.
Yeah,
I mean, she mentioned 20%. I think, Adam, you had to quote that 60% of corporate executives use this. And I think the other thing, this is going to be a huge accelerant to have audio or voice be the interface to these robots and not text.
Yeah, and Vivek, I was just going to say, Vivek asks, the Siri just going to go to the proprietary models. Perhaps, I don't know. My guess would be, Vivek, that depends on the volume you can deliver to those models and who wants it. Just like, kind of what's going on with Google. But
yeah, I was wondering how the training will be staged, right? This is a massive training. And if anybody almost like a new behavior. And if anybody can do it, it's Apple, actually, to make it easy to get this integration so that it's useful and usable. It's certainly essential news, and I'm looking forward to playing with it.
All righty. All right. I think we've drained that one. 10 minutes in. We're going to head to number 2. Now we've done with our Apple homage. Ankash, next. Oh, sorry. Essential. Elon Musk. Yes. Once again, the Donald Trump of the tech world, always getting his face on the newspaper, on the news feed. All right. Threatens Apple ban. You have to put your. Go ahead, Ankash. Sorry.
Yeah. So this one again on Apple's announcement, but comes from Elon Musk, where he talks about Apple's integration with OpenAI and cybersecurity concerns are raised.
Yeah. So, Luda, can you start us off on this one? What do you think of Elon's looking out for his employees like he does?
I actually rate it as optional. It's I think Ellen overreacted. I understand, and all of us have raised the concerns, and everybody understands that it's very tricky to work it out. So privacy concerns are addressed, and they will be. They will be. Ellen just overreacted, saying that he will ban Apple devices. Whether he will do or not remains to be seen, but I thought it is optional.
All right, we're going to vote for optional here. Others?
A double nothing burger.
Double nothing burger. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of soap opera and nothing of substance.
Lots of opera, no soap, or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
All right, we're going for optional. Sorry, Elon. Next, multiplication-free transformer training. Ankash.
Yes, so this next one is a research paper. So they have a thesis that if we do the multiplication-free transformer training, this will reduce the need for extensive GPUs.
All right, Paul, I asked you to, could you kick us
Yeah.
off on this guy?
Very promising research paper. I had it optional since it's research paper, but optional.
Yeah, I would say optional. It's really could be a game changer. And in my eclectic past, I worked on early music synthesizers in the digital environment. And we had exactly the same problem, because if you think about calculating the complex waveforms, it's all about multiplication. Yes. And we did all sorts. It's just an optimization technique. So if it works, it'll be unbelievable. It'll improve performance by orders of magnitude. But this is a trial balloon, and in fact, it was slower because they can't optimize for the hardware.
Right, and it was like on page empty, 25 when they mentioned that it doesn't work on the current.
I will tell you, we improved the synthesizer performance by 4 orders of magnitude through these kinds of techniques.
Wow, by doing linear approximations, that's cool.
Yeah, table lookups. Additional, using addition instead of multiplication, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, everything you could throw at it.
Awesome. Other folks, we're going to put this as optional, promising research area, current development, not.
I agree, optional. I think the key point here to really highlight is that this is in some ways the answer to NVIDIA's stranglehold on the AI enterprise market, right?
Right.
This is how we get out from under their thumb, is with this kind of research.
Yeah, and I give Sviokla credit, John. You've been talking forever about the energy burn and the amount of performance that these things suck up, and so this is a big issue that doesn't get discussed much. So that's why it could be a game changer, but right now it's just a thought experiment.
One footnote, Tim and Julia, I'm interested in your viewpoint, is that I thought the CEO of Perplexity had an interesting observation the other day where he said all the bleeding edge research is happening in the foundational models, which are proprietary, and that means more and more research will not be published because it'll be so important to keep that stuff for the proprietary model advantage.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting horse race, I think. Whether, something like this comes out of academia, then it's going to my guess is the proprietary model advantage stuff will go ahead for a while, and then what you'll have is somebody in academia do something like this that is going to change the game. So I think, like with the internet, those who try to keep it all closed are going to have a hard time. That'd be my prediction. But we shall see. All right, this baby's optional. Anything else important optional here? All right, optional it is. Hope they get this done. We could use an ability to burn less carbon. Next, Ankaj.
Okay, so the next one comes from Wall Street Journal, and it talks about how different countries are building their own computing infrastructure, and which is fueling NVIDIA's business.
So, Adam, what do you think of this bad boy? National interest driving NVIDIA stock price.
This is the nothing burger of the day, in my opinion. Maybe even more so than Elon Musk's privacy concerns. The fact that governments are scrambling to scoop up NVIDIA's chips to build their AI infrastructure shouldn't really be coming as a surprise to anyone.
All right, we got a nothing burger here. We got
governments
trying to buy
stuff. My reaction was to quote one of my favorite movies of all time, Aladdin, when the bird Iago says, "Why am I not surprised?"
All right. So we got a why am I not surprised here? All right. Any votes on whether this article was written by a robot or not? Don't know. I think that's going to be our next evaluation. All right. We have a super optional here. Next, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one comes from BNN Breaking. So basically, this was a news outlet which had an international team of journalists and a publishing deal with Microsoft, but looks like it was only an AI chop shop because the content was full of errors.
What do you think, Luda?
Oh, very optional. It's I'm sure this is just not one example. There are many examples of this. This is too bad. They put the photo of a real person on the sexual misconduct case that obviously wasn't true. It's really slanting folks out there. So this is pretty bad. It's an optional news. The only thing I'm concerned about is not the only. The thing I'm concerned about is that this is essentially like a snowball of bad news, and this is the information our models are trained on. And that's unfortunate, and this will propagate. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how do we contain that spread, but optional as an article.
Optional.
Yeah, I think I would say, Paul's been recently posting and writing about the enormous change coming in advertising and search. If you're in those businesses, this is a more important article because it's an example of what's going on that is basically sucking ad revenue from one place to another.
Yeah, I think we need some kind of term like a Darwin Award for people who do stupid stuff with models. Maybe we could just use the Darwin Award, but because this is definitely the stupid stuff with models, people. All right, so we see this is integrated. It's bad. False information propagates in the models. Be interesting to see how we start to deal with that. All right, but this is optional. Going once, going twice. All right, Ankaj, next.
Okay, the next one comes from Deloitte, and it highlights how GenAI is expected to magnify the risk of deepfakes and other fraud in banking.
All right, Paul, I know how you love vendor articles. Go for it. You're on mute, Paul.
Sorry, I've got 85 tabs open and they're so small right now. I can't even find the one to go back to the StreamYard here. This is nothing burger. We know this stuff's growing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting that they try to make it look like science with this forecast here. Fraud losses in a year ahead. I don't think they have any earthly idea what this graph looks like, but I love the fact that they created one.
I mean, I don't know what to do with it. I mean, we know the fraud increase is increasing. So Does this help me get more budget as an AI leader or security leader? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. The other thoughts on this particular article?
Well, the example they start with, that 25 million was wired because the employee had a Zoom meeting, I assume, that all of her boss, the CEO, and other senior execs were in the room telling her to set that wire, and she did. So it's I don't know. I think more training is necessary here. Something.
Yeah,
This example
you
is
know,
the example is key.
But Luda, that's a public example. I was at a conference 3 or 4 days ago and talked with a security expert. And he knew of 5 other cases that were 10 million more, and companies aren't sharing it. So the CISO people are well aware of this and trying to get ahead of it. And it's an arms race.
Yep.
you know,
We covered
this-
that story about the 25 million a few months ago.
Now, in this article, there is actually a section titled "How Banks Can Prepare for a New Era of Fraud Prevention," but it actually doesn't offer any insights.
Right.
It simply says they should couple modern technology with human intuition. I'm like,
Right.
Beautiful. Right. Yes. Buy low, sell high. Thank you. All right. Well, we got we're 21 minutes in here. I'd just like to spend just a couple minutes just in a discussion about this notion of edge intelligence and so forth from Apple. I mean, how do we think this is going to, go over the next few years? I think it's the most powerful. Really, I think that we don't talk enough about it, given how important it's going to be. Not just us, but I think the market. In terms of this edge intelligence and the ability to encapsulate logic and data the way Apple seems to be doing in its current architecture, and only call on bigger models and share info as you need to. I mean, is that going to be the future operating system along with a multiple? I think of the semantic operating system. I think it's going to be edge centric and I think the LLMs are going to be a component within a multiple expert model, and that's going to be kind of our semantic operating system. What do you folks think?
I mean, John, we already know what the human behavior is. It's like this in front of computers.
Right.
I mean, that's where we're already connected to the things. And I think to me, it's edge plus audio. I mean, look at the transformation that audio has done for text, particularly for non-technical people. And once we start getting Siri and everyone trained on that, the interface really is audio and mobile and not text and laptop. I think it's profound.
Yeah, we seem to be going back and forth, cloud, out, then in, then back. So I agree that it will be agentic. I think Gartner had 3 trends for 2030. One of them was about agentic systems. They thought that agentic systems would not be even mentioned. They will be so much integrated in the way we work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the models right now that Siri is going to use is pretty small, and probably doesn't do enough logic to actually do serious agentic tasks. But those will get better. We'll have techniques like the no multiplication thing, so they can get a little bit bigger. And the big advantages that they have is that they already have a lot of your context. You already have a lot of your email and stuff already on the device, which is the big challenge that things like Rabbit or the Humane Pin were facing, is that you needed them to upload your data to them so that they could analyze it or whatever and then do something on your behalf.
Yes.
But I definitely,
Yeah, I think it will push and push. And, Apple has some advantage here right now because they got into the business of designing their own silicon a while ago. And they've been designing neural network chips for a long time, not just the what they call the Apple silicon, the CPU. So they're going to have, and that's what's really going to drive it, I think. I wish I could say the models would get better and faster and smaller, and they will, but they'll probably also just drive the hardware costs down and the hardware performance up, and that will enable these more complex models to be run on the edge. And there's just an enormous advantage to it. So I think that's what will happen. I think it would be even more powerful if they really got a true decentralized system and really allowed these things to coordinate more and use power where it was available. But I I'm not optimistic about that, but I am optimistic that the basic performance will improve enough that the models will get better, that this will all start to push to the edge.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
as she said, Altman's already there in terms of his thing. I think Vivek asked an interesting question about like what happens after agentic. I would Vivek actually say before. I think the issue is how many organizations will be able to adopt agentic, and I think only those organizations that have really created a platform business like an Amazon, compared to a Walmart, which is kind of created more of a speeded up bureaucracy, if you will. I think it's going to be those platform companies that actually have the ability to do agentic.
But I think the Apple stuff's even head. I mean, some people are talking about, multiple agents. One's going to be the librarian, the other one's going to be the research or the knowledge here. So you've got the librarian agent on your device deciding if it's going to go local or which of the cloud ones that go to it. I mean, I think we're the future is coming really fast in this multi-agent, multi-LLM world.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luda.
What is important, what it's enabling. It's enabling massive personalization, Ashish is pointing it out, right? It will allow the person to not knowing where it is, right? To find the information in a very personal way from the specific things that they were doing at this very moment, right? So that will be really powerful, I think.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Well, beginning of an important discussion. Tim, anything else essential, or we'll do the review and head out of here?
No, we can move on.
All right. Ankash, do we have the review in terms of our gradings here?
Yes, John, coming up.
Already.
We had only one essential today and all other as optionals.
All right. We got the EO going on here. All right. A lot of fluff, but one essential piece of reading here. And tomorrow we have our good friend Toby Redshaw, who's been at Motorola, Verizon, Aviva, and FedEx. Really a super brilliant, thoughtful guy, and also operating managers run a bunch of these things. Going to help us do some ratings tomorrow. So it'd be great to have Toby here. And that's it. Anything else important to report to our audience here? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.